Hello, good day to one and all. This is Miss A. Krishna Sundar, Assistant Professor, Department of English, KAHM Unity Women's College, Mancheri. Today, we are going to discuss articles and prepositions in a capsule form, which is actually a part of the first semester text from Calicut University, and the name of the text is Functional Grammar and Communication in English. So let's start with articles in English. So I want you to take 2 minutes to read these sentences. Now please have a look at the second set of sentences. The second set of sentences includes articles placed in between. And when you go through the first set and the second set, it is clearly visible that the second set actually gives you a complete feeling. When you read the first set, you get the feeling that it is not complete. So that complete feeling comes only when articles are used within the language. So they might look small, but articles play a very important role in language. They are normally used before nouns and they qualify the nouns just like adjectives. Now let's have a look at the different articles in English. We have two articles, the, then comes a and an. The is considered as the definite article, while a or an, they are considered as indefinite articles. Now, why is the a definite article and a and becoming indefinite articles? Now, definite article means the can be used when the identity is known. It can also be used when it is specific. When you are talking about something whose identity is known to the reader, or when you're talking about something where you are specifically mentioning something, the can be used. On the other hand, a and an, they are used when the identity is not clear, when it is not specifically mentioned. Now, you will understand this when you look at these examples. I want to buy a dog. I want to buy a dog. A is used here, and this means you are happy with any dog. So, the identity of the dog is not important here, and nothing is specified. So it could be any dog. It could be a Pomeranian, it could be an Alsatian, it could be a beagle, it could be a husky, it could be any dog. But look at the second sentence. I want the dog I saw in my neighbor's home. In the second sentence, the is used because it is specifically mentioned, because you can't just accept any dog. You are very particular that you want the dog which you have seen at your neighbor's home. So, this is the difference between using the, a, and an. If there is nothing specific, a or an can be used, but if it is something specific, you have to use the. Another example would be the sun rises in the east. It is always the sun. It is not a sun. It is not an sun. It is the sun rises in the east, because we all know that there is only one single sun. So it is specific and its identity is known to the reader. The sun rises in the east. So this is the difference between definite article and indefinite articles. Now, using a or an depends on the sound. If the word begins with a consonant, a is used before it. For example, a boy, a pen, a book, a dog. So all these are beginning with consonant sounds. Boy, b sound, pen, per sound, book, bur sound again. So before a consonant, you will be using A. If the word begins with a vowel, now we know the vowels in English A, E, I, O, U. So if the word begins with any of these vowels, you have to use an egg, because it begins with E, which is a vowel, an idea, I, which is again a vowel, an apple, A, which is a vowel, an idiot, I, again a vowel. If the word begins with a sound Y, now just have a look at this. A university. Now, in the second sentence, we learned that if it begins with a vowel, you have to use an. So, university, the word begins with U. So, as per the second statement, it should be an university, but it is a university because even though it begins with U, the pronunciation that comes out is like Y, university. So, it is a university, and university is wrong. A unicycle. Another example would be a uniform, because all these words, though they start with a vowel sound U, they are pronounced with the Y sound. University, uniform, unicycle, etc. Now, the next one is if the word begins with silent H. If there is an H which is not pronounced, for example, an hour, HOUR, though it begins with H, the H is silent. You pronounce it as hour. H is silent. Since H is silent, the sound that comes out is the sound of a vowel O, and therefore an is used before that. Now, if the word begins with pronounced H, for example, a horse, a hedge, a hammer, in all these cases, H is pronounced as H, and therefore you will be using a before these words. Now comes countable and uncountable articles. I love to sail over the water. Now look at the next sentence. I love to sail over water. Now, the only difference here is that in the first sentence, it is I love to sail over the water. In the second sentence, there is no the. I love to sail over water. Now, we had already discussed that the is actually a definite article, which means there is something specifically mentioned. So, in the first sentence, when you say I love to sail over the water, you are mentioning a specific body of water, not at any place, but at some particular point. Now, look at the second sentence. I love to sail over water means it could be any water. Now, look at the next example. He spilled the milk all over the floor. The milk, which means it is some specific milk, maybe a packet that you bought today morning, or maybe a packet that your father bought yesterday night. So it is specifically mentioned. But look at this. He spilled milk all over the floor. So that could be any milk. So when the is used, we are talking about something definite, something specific. Now comes when you cannot use the. Situations when you cannot use the. Names of most countries. You will never say the India, the Italy, that is wrong. You will only say India, Italy, Mexico. But there are exceptions, because normally you will say as the United States. So, though this can be considered as a general rule, there can be exceptions. Then comes names of cities, streets, and towns. Now, you would never use the before cities, towns, or states. You would never say the Kerala. It is wrong to say the Meghalaya. So you will call it as Kerala, Meghalaya, Miami, etc. Then comes names of lakes. For example, the Great Lakes, you will never use the term the before. You will only use it as Lake Titicaca, Lake Erika. So you will never use the before lakes. Names of mountains. Mount Everest, Mount Fuji. You will never say the Mount Everest. Mount Everest is enough because everyone knows that it is Mount Everest. Now, again, then comes names of continents: Asia, Africa, Europe. You will never use the before this. Then comes names of islands: Easter Island. Okay, so any kinds of islands, you will never use the before it. Now, here comes where the can be used. Names of rivers, oceans, and seas, you can use the before it. The Nile, the Pacific, that is how it goes. Names of the equator, the North Pole, the South Pole, so you have to use the before it. Then comes geographical areas like the Middle East, the West, the East, etc. Deserts, forests, peninsulas, etc. The Sahara, the Black Forest, the Siberian Peninsula. So this is how it goes. Now, omission of articles. You cannot use articles in front of these. For example, languages and nationalities: Chinese, English, Spanish, Russian, etc. You will never use articles before them. Then comes sports like volleyball, hockey, baseball, etc. Then comes academic subjects like mathematics, biology, history, computer science, etc. Now we'll move on to the exercises part. So this is exercise 1 as it is given in your textbook. So I think you can take a pause. You can go through these exercises. You can write it in your notebook and pause the video, because the next slide contains the answers for this exercise. So here you have the answers for the exercises. So I'm not reading through these exercises. You can pause and you can have a look. So here comes exercise 2. So again, you can have a look by pausing the video. You can note down the answers and you can make a comparison. You can check your answers with the answers given in the next slide. So here is the answer for exercise 2. Now comes exercise 3. And here is the answer for exercise 3. And now we are moving on to prepositions. So, a preposition is a word or group of words placed before a noun or pronoun to show their relationship with other words in a sentence. So, the only thing that you have to remember with preposition is that it shows relationship. It is something which speaks about the connection between the different words in a sentence. Now, English language has got around 60 to 70 prepositions. Now, let's take a look at an example. The girl sat on the mat. Now, on here is a preposition. The cat ran under the shed. Under is a preposition. They started working at 11 a.m. At is a preposition here. Now look at all these three sentences. You can see that these prepositions are in fact establishing a relationship between certain words in the sentence. Now look at the first one. The girl sat on the mat. Now the relationship between the girl sitting and the mat is established by the preposition on. In the second sentence, the cat running and shed. The relationship is established with the word, that is the preposition, under. They started working at 11 a.m. So, started working and the time. Now, these two elements are linked together by the preposition at. Now, a few more things that you have to remember about prepositions. Prepositions are always closed set of words. Closed in the sense there cannot be any kind of new additions in prepositions. The number of prepositions in English will never change. But every year there are new words added to the dictionary in English. But you cannot find this kind of a renewal or addition in the case of prepositions, which means they are always remaining as a closed set of words. Now, prepositions have only one form. There is no plural, singular, possessive kind of things. Prepositions have contextual uses, and this is a disadvantage because this can create confusion. Now, prepositions can be of one word, two word, or three worded. Sometimes, when there are more words, you call it as a compound preposition. Now, prepositions of time includes on, at, in, from, to, for, since, etc. Prepositions of place and direction, towards, up, down, etc. Now, phrasal preposition means prepositions with two or more words coming together. For example, along with, apart from, in front of, according to, etc. So, moving on to the exercise part. So, there are 13 questions. You can note down your answers and you can check your answers by looking at the next slide, the slide with answers. So with this, we come to the end of this session. So thank you very much for your patient listening. In case if you have any doubts or queries or suggestions, please do not hesitate to connect with me. So thank you very much. Thank you.